What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of SSPN Postgame. Just a tough one tonight, Ethan. Obviously, the glaring moment is going to be Jeremy Sohan not inbounding the ball or calling a timeout when the Spurs were down by just two with 5 seconds left, with the chance to either tie, send the game to overtime, or even potentially win, which I think is what they were trying to do. I think they were trying to get. It looks like they were trying to get Doug and Keldon off screens to get one of
Mhm.
them a wide open, or maybe not a wide open three, but just a shot at a three to go home with the win and get a buzzer beater. Um, Obviously didn't work out that way. And then the Spurs still had another chance at the end and weren't able to get a look before time expired with 4 seconds left after Evan Fournier missed a free throw. That was kind of the end of the game, but I'll dish it to you now, Ethan. What were kind of just your overall thoughts on this one?
Tough ending. Tough ending for sure. Hard pill to swallow. Because we also got, I think, another opportunity after that
Yep.
to possibly tie or win the game. Or not win. Not
Tie
tie,
it.
but yeah, that's what I
Send it
meant.
to
Not
overtime.
win, but tie it and send it to overtime. And we couldn't capitalize. But I'm not angry about that, Jude, because of where we are in this season. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
wanting to lose games. That's always the silver lining that you have to tell
Right.
yourself after these tough losses is that we're just one step closer to winning the lottery,
Mm-hmm.
potentially. So that's always a silver lining. But overall, I felt like we played a pretty decent game. Early on, the Knicks kind of jumped out ahead of us, scoring some easy baskets. I thought we turned it around in the second and third and fourth quarter, stepped up our defensive intensity, really didn't allow the entire New York Knicks team to beat us. You sent me a tweet, I think, where like we outscored their bench by 40 points, or our bench outscored their
Yeah.
bench by 40 points or something like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a crazy stat. It was definitely a team effort, especially without Devin. I mean, Keldon did his best to kind of be the star, but he kind of had an inefficient shooting night
Had
as
to get
well.
a lot of points from the line.
Exactly. And late in the game, in my opinion, took a few ill advised shots. I think he had a really tough contested hook over an outstretched not Jericho Sims. Oh, yeah, Jericho Sims. So that was a tough shot. And then I think he took an ill advised three with time on the shot clock immediately after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then made some questionable decisions, driving into coverage, lost the ball. So it was kind of a messy night for KJ.
Yeah.
But the rest of the team, Josh Richardson with 20, Zach Collins with a perfect 16, which he was very impressive tonight, both on
Yeah.
offense and defense, played as physical as he could. And then, Trey Jones, I thought, played a phenomenal game. Jakob Poeltl, not a great night scoring, but I thought did wonders for us defensively. Got Mitchell Robinson in foul trouble, which really should have something
That
that we
was
should
big.
have taken advantage of more so than we did. But what it really boils down to is the Knicks have two guys, one that's an all-star in Julius Randle, and one that could eventually be an all-star in Jalen Brunson. But
Absolutely.
regardless of your opinion on their like level in the league, they're two guys that can get you close to 40 points, 30 plus on any given night. And that's just something that we don't have. With KJ and Devin, I think we have two guys that can get you 20 plus, 25, but that's a different level. And
Mm-hmm.
these guys have done it consistently. They're walking buckets and they're incredibly difficult to stop.
Yeah.
Nobody on our team really had a chance of stopping Julius Randle tonight. I thought Sohan did a formidable job, but still you can see that he's a rookie. Stanley Johnson was a spark plug. He did some great things, really got us back into the game, but
Mm-hmm.
he's 6'5" to Julius Randle 6'9". So it was just a mismatch, and the Knicks took advantage. And then late in the game, our youth showed, and we couldn't capitalize on the things that they didn't do correct.
Yeah, so the Spurs are now 0-22, Ethan, when they go into the fourth quarter and they're down.
Oh,
So this would have been great to break that streak, and we're getting closer. And this kind of
yeah,
ties into the narrative we've been talking about since we got back from our holiday break. They're getting better. And I think
yes.
this game showed that again, too. Obviously, some things to work on, especially in this game. M. Easy, he makes a point right here. Sohan should have never been taking the ball out in that spot. Bad
Mm,
coaching. Yeah, me and Ethan were kind of talking about that too. I think really when it comes down to it, probably you should have had Jay Rich or but like a vet throwing that in. Because when you think about it, you could do. I mean, well, you really wouldn't want to do Doug because you want him taking a three in that scenario. So you could go with Jay Rich or Stanley Johnson or somebody else. I understand like the appeal of putting him in, but the good news is he's going to learn from that, and hopefully that never happens again. But
yeah,
I definitely agree there.
yeah.
I kind of got off topic there,
No, you're
respond to that
good.
comment. Forgot what I was talking about before, but just to talk about some other points this game. Um, I think Sohan also this was probably his worst game of the year.
Yeah.
Not just, I mean, if you look at the stat sheet, 0 points, 4 assists, 1 board, a steal and a block, and 5 fouls. Um, and then on top of that, it definitely was probably his worst game of the season. But then on the flip side, you had guys play like their best game of the year. I think this was Zach Collins' best game of the year. Not only
Yes.
was he perfect shooting, we talked about the block poster when he blocked Julius Randle, even though Romeo had to foul him right after. Like, that was huge. We talked about the physicality. I feel like this is the most physical he's been. And I want to see him take more mid-range jumpers. Not only has he drawn fouls, but he's made a couple of those too. Dished 3 assists tonight, and all of those were impressive. They were on a lot of backdoor cuts where he wasn't even necessarily looking. Was hitting bounce passes, like no look out of the post to Doug cutting. So you love to see that. Love to see Doug's poster on Jericho Sims. This was definitely Jay Rich and Doug's like best game in a while. And I think that's just because of the fact that we gave him 23 and 29 minutes. This is what they're going to do. This is why we like them. And this is also why they're valuable trade assets. Malachi 1 for 7 tonight, 0 for 3. But I really didn't think, like, watching the game, looking at the stats, I'm like, okay, that's not a great game. But watching it, I didn't really think Malachi played that bad. Did get 5 boards tonight. Um, Obviously didn't shoot well. But when he did shoot, it was no hesitation. It's the same thing we've talked about with Malachi throughout the whole season. He gets to good spots and takes good shots. He's just got to keep playing to where they're not bricking.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that has to do with the arc on his shot, which he's talked about. And that kind of ties into something else that we've talked about earlier this year, where when Sean Elliott was talking about how Sohan can't fix his shot in, during the season, that's like an off-season thing. And I think that's kind of the same thing with Malachi. Like, he's going to have to go through an off-season to get some more arc on his shot. And then hopefully next season we'll see more of those falling.
I agree 1000%. It's the same story, and I feel like it's going to be the same story with Malachi for the rest of the year. He'll have, a handful of games where he goes
Mm-hmm.
off, gets close to 20, and we're like, this guy's the next all-star of our team, and then he'll come back down to earth. But I still think he has a high ceiling, but next year is really going to be the test for him. And as far as Sohan bringing or inbounding the ball, I see the logic. Now, I would have liked to have tried to get him on a backdoor slip, set some screens for our shooters, get them to
Right.
overcommit on a Doug
Put a
and try
vet
and
in
hit
there.
him backdoor. Yeah, but I do get the logic because he is 6'9", he is long, he can inbound the ball over our taller, outstretched hands, and he is a really good passer. Plus, he's not a shooter, so maybe the logic is they're not going to defend him along the perimeter at all.
Yeah.
And like I get what they're coming
Just a
from.
learning moment. Yeah.
It is a learning moment. He should have called a timeout. I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with him inbounding the ball, but he should have called a timeout.
Yeah.
But it's a rookie. It's to be expected.
Yeah. Just looking at some of the other things tonight. 13 minutes from Romeo. Not the most like super exciting thing. Had the 4 fouls. I think that's what kind of kept him out of the rest of
Yeah,
the game. But made some good floaters, made a 3, played his on-ball defense when they started putting him on Brunson earlier in the game.
he
That's
was
kind of
working.
what that's kind of what slowed him down and allows the Spurs to come back in the second quarter. Just to reiterate some of the stuff you said, Spurs were down 39-29 in the first, outscored the Knicks in every quarter for the rest of the game and still lost, but 26-23 in the second, 34-32 in the third, and 25-23 in the fourth. So, and you outscored, I added up the bench points, just the final one, 61-21. So, that goose egg by Sohan and the play by him stands out a little bit when you're just looking at the numbers. Obviously, there's more that goes into the game. Keldon, I want to kind of dish it to you here in a second to talk about his shooting, because I think you found like the perfect thing when it comes to
Yeah,
his
yeah.
shot. Still found a way to go technically 40% tonight. But I like the way that even when his shot wasn't working, he was able to go to the foul line. Missed those first 2, which you don't like to see, but then was 10 of 10 for the rest of the game. And that was huge in keeping the Spurs in the game tonight. 26 points overall with 7 boards, 2 assists. And another thing that I'm just thinking about, considering that Devin was out in this game again and they got Jalen Brunson back and you won by like 7 last time, I'm kind of losing I'm losing my train of thought like mid-sentence here. But okay, the point is that it was, with them getting Jalen Brunson back and not having Devin tonight, it was an impressive. It was still a good game for the Spurs, but when you consider the context of how they lost, like it was a valiant effort. That's the better way to describe it. But the context of how they lost is frustrating, but that's also what you're going to get from a 12-26 team.
Yeah, on paper it should have been a blowout, is what you're saying.
Right.
Like they have all their
Maybe
entire
not
roster,
a
but
blowout, but they probably, the first quarter is probably how the game should have gone the whole time.
agreed. So it was a definite. I think if we have Romeo not in foul trouble and
Mm-hmm.
Devin there, it's a completely different game because Brunson with 38, Romeo, like you said, was really the only one that was effective defending him because he's quick along the perimeter, great hands, and he's strong and he's taller than Jalen Brunson. Trey Jones, very solid perimeter defender, but one on one, Jalen Brunson's too strong. And if
Mm-hmm.
you send Malachi Brown, Malachi's too young, he's not as strong. And
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Brunson's a little too quick, a little too tricky with that handle. Got to his spots way too easily. And they were just getting any switch that they wanted along the perimeter for him. He was just on a different level tonight, looking like playoff Jalen Brunson against Rudy Gobert out there tonight. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, and on top of this, the other thing that's key here is the Spurs are the worst defense in the league.
Yeah,
So when you bring him back, like I said, it's a valiant effort that they were in because on paper, like you said, the more I'm thinking about, it, they probably really should have got blown out. Just talking about M-Easy's comment here, he said Sohan is not 6'9", he looks shorter than Randall, and he is 6'9". I think Sohan is 6'8". So not too
whatever.
big of a difference there, but right, a
Pardon me.
little bit down. And Tito, you said what's up? Wanted to give a shout out there. Million saying felt like we couldn't execute at all
Yeah.
today. There were definitely times where we were just mucking it up out there, for sure. Million also asked earlier, is Devin the glue of this team? I don't know if he's necessarily the glue, but he's definitely like a very important piece right now. He's been the most consistent player all year. So I guess you could say he's definitely, I mean, he's more than a glue guy. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times when you say glue guy, like you're thinking of somebody like a Sohan or maybe even a Jay Rich. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Obviously, when I say Sohan, I mean like at this point in his career. So I mean, I think he's more than just a glue guy, but he's definitely, he is the most consistent thing on the team this season throughout the year for sure.
Yes, I would agree.
Another thing that happened tonight, Ethan, I don't know, I want to get back to this game a little bit, but the Austin Spurs did play tonight. They got blown out by the 4-0 Capital City Go-Go.
Oh, those Go-Go's.
The 4-0 baby in the East of the G League. Top of the conference. Anyways.
Elite.
But want to give some box scores for Blake Wesley and Charles Bassey, who both had great games tonight. 29, 7, and 6 for Charles Bassey. 14 of 17 overall with a steal and a block as well. So triple-double Bassey incoming, ? And then Blake Wesley, not the most efficient night for him, more efficient than last time, but 19, 6, and 6 with 2 steals and shot 3 for 5 from the 3-point line. 7 of 17 overall. So, still working on the efficiency, but you love to see that from the 3-point line, and you love to see him have 19, 6, and 6 with 2 steals.
Absolutely.
We can talk about Dom Barlow too. I forgot about him. He had a good game tonight. I don't know if this is his first double-double of the regular season, I believe. He had 14 boards, 2 assists, and 10 points. So good for and 2 blocks as well. So love to see that from the two-way guys.
Shout out to them.
Any other final thoughts on this Knicks game, Ethan?
Well,
we don't have to necessarily wrap up right now, but we kind of talked about most of it.
I didn't really mention the Keldon thing that we were talking about with his scoring or his shooting rather. So when he catches the ball on a catch and shoot, there's 2 different reactions for Keldon. He either catches it and lets it fly. He just lets that thing go. And then when that happens, it's butter. It's money. It looks great. It goes so high in the air and it just sets the net on fire. And then there's the other times where he'll catch it and he has almost too much space and the closeout will be a little slow and he'll make sure he gets his hand in the right spot. He'll really make sure his feet are set and he'll get his form perfect and he'll just take almost too long and think about it too much. And when that happens, it's almost every time going to be a brick. I don't know why, but it's almost like
he's thinking about it too much.
He's in his head. So I just let it fly, Keldon. Let it fly. I mean, you're a terrific shooter. Don't let the slump get you off of your game.
Another criticism I have of Keldon tonight, and we've kind of talked about this before on the show, and I've talked about his defense and how that's the thing that I feel like he needs to get better at, the most moving forward that can kind of take his game to the next level. And Walt Frazier was talking about it on the broadcast too. There were, I think it was either one or two possessions late where I think it was two in a row where Jalen Brunson basically took him inside, kind of backed him up, and then did his little fadeaway shot that he does. And it was like on both of those, Keldon was in a low stance, but he wasn't up on him enough. It's like it was he put a hand up, but it wasn't like in his face. So it was still kind of like hand down, man down, if that makes sense. He was
Yeah.
just giving him, with the way that he can make shots, it was like in that situation, I know he's 23 or whatever, but it's like, at this point, it's almost like I wanted Keldon to know there. Like, you got to know, you got to get up on him with how hot he is and in that crucial moment of the game. But that's kind of the story of this season, And I noticed later he got up on him a little bit more, but it's like if you get up on him on maybe two of those jumpers earlier, maybe you walk out of here with a win. So those are the defensive pressure should have been there more on, the dude who was on fire that night. And Walt Frazier was talking about it on the replays, like Keldon Johnson's got to get more up on this. If you do that, you're just going to score. And it was like, completely agree, my guy.
I agree with you. But to be fair to Keldon, I'm not saying this is what he was thinking, because he probably was just like a lapse of defensive understanding. But the refs, both sides of the ball, they were horrible.
I'm so glad you talked about this.
Last Knicks game, they were letting everything fly. You could be as physical as
that
you
was
wanted
in San
to.
Antonio, right?
They were letting you. Yep, they were letting you push, shove, scrap, all you wanted, almost too much. And tonight,
it was touchy, man. It was
couldn't so much
touchy.
as get breathe on a guy, and they were calling a foul. You didn't have to be near the 3-point line. There was a moment, I think it was Sohan, who was guarding Jalen Brunson toward the end of the game.
There's
tightly.
So many moments, dude.
It was just past the half court mark.
I know what you're talking about.
And he didn't even touch him. Brunson kind of backed into him a little bit, kind of like how Magic Johnson used to back into guys. And just that little bump, they called a foul. That happened so many times. You can't have that many guys in foul trouble. I don't think Mitchell Robinson should have had 5 fouls.
I agree.
He was on the Knicks.
Yeah, I was about to say that. He got screwed over a lot. And another thing, you mentioned that, and there was another foul where Malachi was he literally said, he didn't say it's BS. He said actually what BS means. He said that to Trey, and it was like he barely touched Julius Randle. And so they were just super ticky-tacky. There were some on Zach tonight too, where I was like, I'm glad we're going to the line, but what was that? I completely agree. But I will say, obviously, this is through Spurs colored glasses. But at the beginning of the game, I was like, dude, they're going to give him anything. These Knicks rigged refs. New Yorkers are paying them. Anyways, no. But it was definitely on both sides. And it's like, I definitely prefer the physical game. And I think the players prefer that too. So hopefully we can get more refs like the ones that were in San Antonio the last time we played these guys. M-Easy actually brings up a good point here. Did you notice that Pop's assistant drew up the last 2 plays in crunch time SMH? I did see Mitch Johnson rack it up, and that's just, interesting though. Just with the whole retirement thing, I think that's just a interesting thing to note.
Yeah.
We'll see. Walt Frazier joked about it on the broadcast, and he was like, I think Pop's sticking around to see if he can get that Victor Wembanyama kid, and if not, I think he'll retire. I was like, dude, you may be exactly right. And he said he talked to Shaw before the game too, so more other broadcasters giving us inside information on the broadcast.
Who knows?
Potentially.
Who knows what will happen with his retirement. But as far as the assistant drawing up, I don't really care about any of that. Pop's always been that coach to empower. You can frame it however you want.
It's probably not the first time it's happened. Ime's probably done that. They were talking about Jacques Vaughn before the broadcast as well.
And we've seen
Becky
Pop give Tony Parker and Manu and Tim the clipboard and tell them to draw plays up. And when that happens, we're like, oh, that's great coaching. So I don't care. Yeah. Anybody can drop the last play. It doesn't matter because we didn't actually get to use it because of the 5-second
So we didn't inbound. Oh
so
my gosh.
Who knows if it would have been a good play or not.
Right. Well, any final thoughts on this one, Ethan?
Unfortunate loss, but it's just one step closer to the lottery.
All right, well, let's go ahead and just look at the Spurs schedule coming up before we leave here. So they'll go back to San Antonio this weekend. They'll play Detroit on Friday, have a doubleheader, and play the Celtics on Saturday. The Celtics, man, I don't want to – I mean, obviously that seems like a game we're going to get blown out in, but they just got beat 150 to like 117 against the Thunder without Shea Gilgeous. And they were
Wow.
fully healthy, dude. Fully healthy. They had everybody. So
Wow.
maybe we catch them at a good time, but also maybe it's their bounce back game and the
Yeah, I was gonna
score is
say.
opposite and they beat us that bad.
Yeah,
That's
they might go on a
Derek
run.
revenge game. Oh Lord.
The
But at least we got
Pistons.
Detroit the night before. Are they playing good too? Oh my gosh.
No, I don't know if they're playing like incredibly well. I think their record is worse than
Hmm.
us. But they got some talent over there, man. Like I
Yeah.
would expect that to be a very physical game.
I
So
just picked up what's his name? Sadiq Bey for my fantasy basketball
he's
team.
a
And
solid player.
yeah, and he's like number like 13 or whatever it is position in fantasy points. I know that doesn't always equate to
Yeah.
being a good basketball player, but point is he's doing some things this year on the stat sheet. Just another funny note when I'm looking at the rest of the Spurs schedule, because we got the Alamo Dome game coming up, and that is the Spurs one game on ESPN is against Golden State in the Alamo Dome 2 Fridays from now.
I'm looking forward to that game, dude. I
Me too.
cannot wait. Did you see they got the guys that made the Whoop There It Is in
Yes,
'93?
yes,
They
they're
got
getting.
them
I
performing
forget.
at halftime, and
I
the
forget
the,
their
the
name.
founder of the Fifth Harmony, whoever that
Ooh,
lady is, she's singing the national anthem.
wow,
So it's like all out
blowout.
'90s. Yeah, it's gonna be great. I can't wait.
Oh my
I'll wear this
gosh.
hat that day, all day.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. And you know what the Spurs get right before that game?
What's that?
A trip to Memphis with 2 games in a row against the
Oh
Grizzlies. Yeah.
boy, howdy.
Who are
Okay.
just on fire. Yeah. Desmond Bane's continuing to develop. Jaw is jaw. That's
Mm.
gonna be tough. So hopefully we can get this next win against Detroit at home on Friday, because it's gonna be a tough stretch after that. Because after Golden State, you get Sacramento, who is the 4 seed in the West right now. So they're not the Kings of old.
I love the Kings.
And then you've got Brooklyn, the Clippers, Portland, the Lakers, the Clippers, Phoenix. Like you
Oh
don't
my
have,
god.
and then you have Washington. We don't have another like game that is like somebody in our record book until March, dude. I'm looking at the schedule. Well, okay, never
We
mind.
play
We
the
play
Pistons again in
in
February.
February. Yeah, but that's it. Like, and then we got to go to Atlanta. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is about to be probably major L time in San Antonio, guys. There's after this Detroit game, like
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 games until we play Detroit again.
Wow.
Yeah, that will be a tough one. This is another great comment here by MEZ. Did you see the
Yeah.
dunk by Scoot? I actually sent that to Ethan. Y'all got to go check that out. That Scoot Henderson poster was insane. Lottery gods, everybody pray to him right now.
John Wall
Him,
2.0, baby.
him or Wembanyama. I'm cool with either. Or well, I'm cool with other people too. But it would be great to get one of those 2 guys.
I said about Scoot to somebody, I said John Wall 2.0. I can't remember who it was. And they were
Mhm.
like, no, dude, John Wall's not good. And I was like, do y'all remember how good John Wall was from like
Like you're
2010
not
to
saying John Wall
16?
right now.
No,
Like
I was like, Prime John Wall was a problem.
he was on the
Okay.
cover of this is when NBA Live was still like a competitor, but he was on the
Yeah.
cover of NBA Live, like when that was kind of the main game.
He was
Anyways,
20 and 10 every night. Every night.
facts.
Give it to you.
Facts.
Took a dormant Wizards franchise to playoff contenders like every year. Whatever. I'm a big John Wall fan, but I love John Wall.
Facts. I don't think anybody can look at old John Wall highlights and not be very
Dude,
entertained.
he was next level,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah. It was his athleticism was off the charts. It was kind of similar to no, I don't know. I was about to say something. I was about to say Gilbert Arenas, but they were just both on the
Underrated
Wizards.
defender too, dude. That guy was a block
Physical,
machine.
physical for sure.
Yes. Oh, at 6'4"?
Yeah.
He was Westbrook, but without shooting threes and a better defender. Is what he
Ethan's
was.
John Wall rant. I love it.
John Wall's. I mean, look him up, bro. Gosh,
Y'all got to go watch the old John Wall highlights. That's the moral of today's SSPN
that's
post
right.
game. We appreciate y'all. Thanks for hanging out with us after another tough Spurs loss. I do not know if Scoot is a Rich Paul client. Hopefully he is not. Without that with DeJounte. So we'll see. But anyways, once again, appreciate y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the show. Tell your friends, tell your family, all that good stuff. If you want to stay updated with the show, follow us on Twitter. If you want to watch it there, you can watch it at SSPN on YT, at Jude McLaren, at Ethan_Quintero to stay updated with episodes and all that good stuff. We'll catch y'all in the next one. We appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all later.